Carolyn's not here.
Oh,
Do you want to start without her?
It's up to you guys. I'm
No, it's up to
perfectly
you.
fine doing that.
Okay.
Unless you want to skip and go to something else.
well, we can do,
They can do their minutes first. She'll be here. I talked to her
that'll take at
yesterday.
least,
15 seconds.
I
I'm gonna read them
I have a couple of questions.
I make a motion to accept the October 3rd minutes. Second.
move secondly about the minutes of October 3rd. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, there'll be no meeting next week because of KAC. We have to move the date of the canvass for the general election because the 12th is a holiday in November. The canvass
All the cameras.
for the general,
Saying that you're moving the general election.
oh gosh,
Say that, take an acre on.
no. So I have to publish that we're moving the date. So I'd like to do it on Wednesday, November 14th, your regular meeting day. I need to know if you want to do it at 8 a.m. in the morning or 10 a.m. in the morning. You want to do it before or after?
I just assumed it before.
Is 8 o'clock all right?
It's fine.
Okay. That's when I'll publish it. That's what I was thinking, but, because it usually doesn't take very long.
So on the 14th,
You might be counting votes just like on the house.
True. But
It's pretty
I'll
close.
just publish it at 8 a.m. and then we'll get it done before.
If we can't finish it, we can do it afterwards.
anything else?
Like your tax exempt form for your hotels later, there, you'll need that. That's all.
Okay, we'll recess, Carol.
You weren't thinking when we
I
planned
was gonna
this.
say, why in the world?
I think it was because you guys were going to be gone for like the next 2 weeks or whatever. We didn't want to wait until November.
Yeah.
I saw that, I thought, man, we could have better timing than that.
I know, yesterday I thought, what was I thinking? Anyway, this is Christy Tustin with Old Belt Community Foundation. And the foundation is considering this initiative that would allow charitable funds to be directed toward recruiting back young professionals. But basically need to have some established need that it's okay. I can talk to you too. Yeah, and I'll let Christy explain. She do a better job.
So let me just start with, our foundation has been looking at a way to make a bigger impact, and we've also been studying economic development philanthropy. We came across similar programs being operated in Michigan and Ohio by community foundations. The whole reverse scholarship concept, very similar to our rural opportunity zone that you have here in Stafford County. It's qualified for it. So obviously the concept is that we spent over $75,000 in scholarships this past year, sending our young people away to many of whom may not return to their hometowns. And so we're looking at a way to maybe bring them back. There's so many people that we need, not just bachelor's and graduate degrees, but even our skilled trades, our certificate programs, all of those. And so this program encompasses all of that. As long as somebody has student loan debt, this could be a part of it. So we're hoping to recruit those people back at least 7 years post their graduation or degree completion, and giving a preference to those that have some ties or can show some ties to our Fort County area. Our intent is to run this as a regional program. So the Golden Belt Community Foundation works in Stafford County, but as well as Pawnee, Rush, and Hart. And so when I say that, I mean that somebody coming back can live in one county and work in another, and vice versa. They can live and work in the same county, and it doesn't matter. But there would be a benefit either way, whether you had somebody coming to live in your county, even if they worked elsewhere, or came to work here and fill a needed position. So we're going to take that approach, at least to begin with, and hope that it does work. We'll be raising private funds, not asking for any county taxpayer dollars. What Carolyn is getting to is why I need county government involvement. So as a charitable foundation, we operate under Section 501c3 of the code. If you you read that section, I remember having occasion to. Economic development is not generally a part of that. And paying off student loan debt can be a little gray. So the way the foundations are working this is there's a section in 501c that says relieving the burden of government. That's a charitable activity of which a community foundation could act. And so if our 4 counties decide that not having people with the right skills, bachelor's degrees, qualified people coming back to the area is a burden of government, then Golden Belt could step in with a fund agreement and run this Come Home with Us scholarship program and operate it in the 4 county area or whichever counties would be eligible because they've declared the burden. And so I've been kind of on just an education and communication process trying to see if our county or commissioners believe that to be a burden, a need in the communities. Obviously, if people are not coming back and the population projections are a little scary. This is my research book to get this going, so I bring it for effect. But I can answer good questions out of it too. So that's why we're here, and I can't, as Golden Belt Community Foundation, ask you as Stafford County Commission to pass that resolution. You have to declare the burden up on your own. And so I provided some sample documents, and then the fund agreement, of course, and CPA partner with us.
And this money is, I mean, like rural opportunity zones is for students, or for scholarships, or school loans.
Right.
And what is this?
Same thing.
Very same thing?
Pay off student loan debt.
So it just kind of piggybacks on the rural opportunity zones?
A little bit. It's a little bit of the same thing, only rural opportunity zone is first come, first served, and this will be a competitive process. So we'll be looking at what are those harder positions to fill. So it's not just anybody, but certainly there might be those that we have a pool of applicants, some would rise to the top more than others. And so
It's competitive.
Just like any other traditional scholarship award, it's not just because you got your application in first.
But it's more for after you have your degree,
Absolutely.
and it would be a way to maybe get in a doctor or a lawyer or something like that that's got a lot of school debt.
Sure.
Come here 7 years and we help you pay off your school loans.
Yeah, this one's up to 5 years. Up to $10,000. So we'll have some flexibility in there. They can't be here at the time in our 4 county area and can be living here at the time of application. We're trying to bring people here, so that's a different strategy. We might take a look at that later.
So they live and work in one of these 4 counties?
Yes.
But they could live in one county and work in the other, but as long as it's in those 4 counties?
Yes.
Okay.
So would that be like a recruiting tool for hospitals and restaurants and stuff? When you have nurses coming and looking at doctors, you can say, this is another benefit that we can offer you if they can apply for this.
Yes. They can apply for it. Just so they understand there's no guarantees.
And it is competitive.
It is competitive.
So how many, do you have all your donation, I mean, how many dollars worth do you think you will be?
How to start. I'm putting this piece in place first.
Okay.
How much do you think you could raise?
No.
Yeah.
I know what I'm planning to ask. I haven't told anyone beyond staff that yet.
That's all right.
I'm hoping to secure several years of funding.
It's all private.
Yeah, I do private donations. That's all the community foundation works like. We don't
Well,
have any other support.
and the reason being, because you're a 501c3, those who donate can
Yes,
deduct it.
absolutely. Yeah, so it's a tax deduction for the donor or for the business. That puts it in place.
And so this resolution will basically just be us saying that we understand there's a need to try to bring people back into our community.
Right, you're declaring the lack of people and the trends and the forecast for population loss, that is a burden.
If a business put that in, they can't earmark it to say, I want that to go back to somebody that would work for me.
Not in this program. there's an employer sponsorship on Rural Opportunity Zone, but that doesn't work as well. We get some private benefit problems in there, once you get your tax deduction, and then if you fair market for a particular person, it's problematic.
But if we had an employer that was willing to sponsor someone, I have
Rural
that.
Opportunity Zone's there.
Yeah, I can facilitate that through rural opportunities.
Okay.
Really, that's kind of the only way it works well in Stafford County because of the limited amount of public funds we have to dedicate to it. So,
You know, like if you say the nursing home wanted to sponsor somebody, that'd be, and you'd get a little iffy if you didn't think you'd be putting money in and it'd be going to the
yeah.
next door.
It be an understanding, I will be very clear with donors on that. We're upfront usually on everything, on all the batch.
So how many did we get on ROZ? Was it 3?
Well, we, at the maximum, we had dedicated 10,000 a year, which, not all of them were in a full amount, like we had less than 15,000 in debt, so, I think it was 7 or 8. But as the ones that got in early or pay, are, like aging out of the program or whatever, they've fulfilled their 5 years, we are basically gearing down our, we are dedicating any funds to it. So, I mean, part of the problem I saw with that is that I don't think it was actually recruiting new people to our county because we had a wait list longer than the participants, so. And we don't have the same flexibility to kind of pick someone that's strategically going to add something to the county. Like one of the examples we've talked through is if somebody is coming back to the county and if they've got a couple of kids that they're going to put in the school system and start a business, that's probably a strategically better pick than a young person that was maybe planning to come back here no matter what, as a single person. So
If we could ever discern that.
exactly.
Carolyn knows everything.
People are pretty open. I've already been told a lot, so.
And we don't have that same ability to kind of discern that rural opportunity zone. Now, if somebody's recruiting someone back as a business and is going to sponsor someone, well, that works.
So it's really pretty nice for the 3 counties. Barton is not rural opportunity zone, but where you have that here, you have another layer. And it's not, even if someone's receiving a rural opportunity zone benefit, maybe it is that physician, that doctor you're trying to get here, and they have substantial debt. It doesn't mean they couldn't apply for this as well. So it could almost stack the benefits and be even more of an incentive. Because there are people like that, it is harder to get to move to a rural county. So the selection committee will be determined by the Community Foundation Board. I may ask for representation from the county commissions that are partnering with us on that, but that would be my ask. Be very conscious of our conflicts of interest between the applicants and who's on that committee, especially if employers donate. That's just how these things come to market.
I think the concept's great. We had no problem signing a letter or looking through that one.
We got a resolution and then the agreement. Was the resolution passed first and then the agreement? That's the proper order.
Which first,
So the resolution is declaring need. We need more.
2018-11-2018.
This is what.
Oh, okay. Some resolution.
I'll make a motion that we accept resolution 2018-11.
second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 2018-11. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. on signature on this, the agreement, or? Otherwise, yeah. Otherwise, the chair to sign it.
Okay, so when they are entering into a fund agreement, in many cases at the foundation, when you're entering into a fund agreement, is because you're providing funds to the foundation, and there's a relationship with the foundation will administer that fund on your behalf. That's different
It's a
here.
little different. So this first paragraph says, the foundation in collaboration with other partners and counties focused on increasing talent retention efforts and regional prosperity. So this is how the foundations of Ohio and Michigan chose to address it. I could have done an MOU instead of a fund agreement. This is just typically how a Canadian foundation operates.
So in this case, the fund agreement is just to acknowledge how you're going to administer the fund and to express the interest of Stafford County to have participants in the eligible pool of applicants.
Right.
But there's really not a particular obligation of the county on an ongoing basis.
No.
with this fund.
No.
Make a motion.
It is interesting. I don't have the full title of the bill. It's a long one. But there is a bill presented that would address this very issue, and we wouldn't have had to go through all of this, but it's in committee, and I don't know what. They are looking at this in national.
I'll make a motion that we
Otherwise, the chairman.
authorize the chairman to sign the fund agreement with Golden Belt Community Foundation. Second.
So we have a second, we authorize the chairman to sign the agreement with the Community Development Foundation. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried.
First time.
First line.
My board president was going to say.
Should we sign the top?
Sign.
That's better.
Everyone will have to chase us down the field.
Unless we go into the signatures.
We wrote the logo on this.
Yours.
Today's date, 10/10.
It is 10/10 at 10. If you're one of the first 10 customers, you get a $10 gift card.
That's why you picked it.
Should have that at 7 a.m. this morning.
I know.
It's pretty full out there now.
I have to say, the $10 gifts are biggest.
3 pages.
All right.
3 pages.
It is something to talk about.
I'm gonna make a copy of this for
That's
me.
fine. So I will get you copies of everything, and then I will keep you informed as we go. We hope to launch by the end of the year, if not, will be early 2020.
You said 3 counties, Stafford, Barton,
Bonnie and Rush.
Pawnee, and Rush, that 4 counties.
But Barton is not,
Barton's
Barton is not an
optional
ROC.
option, is that correct?
But it can still participate in this
Yes,
particular
yeah.
program.
Barton is already in, they did theirs last week.
Have the other counties passed the resolution?
Not yet, they're supportive. I've got one going through their counselor, and then the other one, I'm still trying to find a resolution that approves this strategic plan. And so they're going to be pretty close. I've had nothing but support for it.
But, yeah, for what it's worth, we need to help look up a resolution from 1994 that established this appears to have been the most recent strategic plan passed by the county was in 1994. So
I was
Christine
looking-
referenced that as a way
Yeah,
to.
I was looking for anything where this governing body had ever talked about people, jobs, anything, and so that's what I found that last plan. And yep, I've been digging in for that. I'm sure people will be glad when I'm finished with this, so I'll stop asking for resolutions from 10 years ago.
Well, it's so funny about this ROZ, and at the time that we qualified, we did not qualify, and Carolyn went to Topeka, and, and presented the case. Okay, we're designated. Okay, great. Where's the money? Oh, we're not getting any money. You know, the legislators passed it, but didn't fund it. So consequently, there was nothing in our budget that year. And we had these applicants that, well, sorry, there's no funding, so.
Yeah, I won't put out for applications until I have money raised. For sure. That's the only thing that will stop it now is if donations don't follow the verbal support I've got.
Right.
Which I would anticipate too much. Thank you very much for your time this
Okay.
morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds exciting.
All right. We're gonna find out. It will be more challenging.
Carol, we'll recess.
Exciting.
All right.
So, at our council meeting last night, it came up and we were talking about annexing in our airport property that's there. And they said that we have to bring something to them as the commissioners. But I'm supposed to feel it out and see if maybe there's a possibility that you guys would consider letting Stafford annex, because it's in the county.
Oh.
But it would be annexed in the city.
But the city owns the
The
property.
city owns the property.
To annex in, does it have to be contiguous with the current?
It'd be an island annex.
Okay, that's,
I forget the property meeting.
I did too.
And it was interesting because they had the city attorney's meeting with the municipalities and I guess they discussed it there. So, I mean, it's been kind of floating out there, but it officially came up on the agenda last night. So I don't have anything official, but I'm supposed to come and see if that was something that you guys would consider.
Because you have utilities, the city runs utilities out there, right?
There's no utilities out there.
But I mean, there is service.
There used to be
I thought
lights
there
and
was.
stuff.
Yeah. You go to
isn't
the
that what
airport.
they told us? Where they were saying.
There's a lot of them, irrigators tied into the power.
The service goes right by there.
I know the main goes through there, but maybe it was just the three phase that we didn't have.
So you're wanting to annex that into part of the city or stuff?
Potentially, possibly. Or probably ways from it,
So how would that affect us?
Well, I don't see what it would. What benefits does that give the city?
but, I think they're thinking if there's potential development, this business down there, that there would be, the taxes would go to the city, or the city.
Well, it'll take away from the township too, if the city annexes on it.
How big an area are we gonna annex? Just the,
80 or 88 acres.
kind of
40-some acres. Because to the west is owned by Benny Ball. And that 80 to the west, where there's crops, that's fire.
I don't think it would be a full
40, I want to say something like 42 acres is the airport.
Should ask her.
We can go down here and get the map.
Yeah.
Is that, there's a,
That doesn't look like 80 acres like where the sheriff is at.
well, I think, let's go down here and get it. Because I think there's 40 acres along the west edge there on Southeast 50th Avenue, North 50, the airport's at. There's a west half is owned by,
We had it appraised earlier this year. Maybe last year.
Dennis has that out of quarter to the east.
Yeah.
And he get with the boundaries and all that.
Basically, it'd be one of those things where you would just have a hearing, and if nobody showed up to protest, then you'd be, I wouldn't oppose it.
Or we'd have to have a hearing on it.
They would have to have a hearing on it.
Yeah.
And if we didn't, and if nobody showed up to protest it, it would just pass.
Is that if it's some protest, then they have to go to work in the city.
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
We'll recess. We just.
First, didn't always rain 8 or 9 inches. Right where I live, I'm 7+, but right in town here, they're 9 plus. Because that very first rain on Wednesday night, I got 1 inch at my house in my town. I live 3/4 of a mile from the city limits, they had 3.
And Maxwell had 5.
Yeah, that's a
Starting
difference.
last Wednesday.
The difference of 1 month. Yeah, that day I went to Garden City, there was water everywhere. West of Maxwell, that field, you couldn't see any
And
land.
my mom was about like 80 minutes.
It was sparkling in heck that
7
first
miles
day.
south.
It was right along Highway 50.
All right. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, where do we start?
Morning.
Morning. So on the first page here, just to go through real quick what you have and explain. I know we talk about this about once a year or twice a year, and so you have a reinsurance carrier. They're called Fairco. You have a couple of different contracts with them. One is on each individual that's on the plan, and the other is the umbrella over the entire group together. And that's your top one. The contract is called a 1215. So anything occurs from 1/1 to 12/31, we've got 3 months of run out. That's what that 15 means. So if there's large claims, we can go get them or have them come in and take care of them, and so the reinsurance has to pay for them. You cover the first 35,000 on an individual. On the aggregate, that's the umbrella. You have what's called a 2412, which is a run-in contract, meaning that anything that occurs this year that's underneath that 35,000, if it doesn't get paid this year, it can go into next year's contract. It doesn't fall in between contracts for you, which is it's extra protection that you have. And then you have what's called an aggregate specific, which is 50,000. I'll come back to that here in just a little bit when we talk about the renewal. And you can see the prices you pay for the different services. The biggest number is what you pay on the individual, that 35,000 coverage. Then you also see you've got an aggregate premium, which is the premium you pay for over and above, for the umbrella on the group. And you have a PPO, you have a pre-cert beautification or certification company that you pay a little bit to, and you have the administration fee there. Aggregate, so that gives you a total fixed cost. The aggregate factors is what you set aside each month to help cover claims. That's what's helped you to get your, in the good years, when you're setting those dollars aside, it builds your reserves on there. So you can see that last year, based off of that snapshot in time last year, that was your enrollment at the top: single 18, employee 11, employee spouse 11, employee child 3, and family 13. So in that snapshot last year, going into this year, you could set aside $901. If that stayed constant every month, well, we know it changes a little bit. You reach that $900,000 number if you were funding to that. And were you funding to those numbers? Okay.
So this is basically what we're paying right here for for a family plan?
Well, that's what you're setting aside, and you may not spend it all. In a lot of years, you don't spend all of that. That's how you built your reserve. But if that's what you're, right now, that's what the reinsurance carrier is saying, to protect yourself, you would want to set that aside to do that.
And this is what we did last year, is this what we did?
Yes. This is correct. Okay. Any other questions on that? I know we flew through that pretty quick. This right here that you're looking at, you've got 2 pages. You've got last year's on the second page. You've got the current year on this first page we're looking at. And we've changed the report just a little bit. We keep trying to make it a little bit more consumer friendly with all the different parts that's involved in a self-funded plan. But if you look at the top left, you see those same numbers that we were talking about before, that you have an aggregate contract, you have a specific contract, you see all those in that top left box. In the middle, it shows what's happened to your enrollment. Middle top box, your enrollment over the months hasn't changed much at all. You're down a couple of children, employee child from the beginning of the year, you're down 1 spouse, you're down 1 single, but you're up 1 family. So you're down you're down about 3 employees from the beginning of the year that were on the plan. Now, so if we take those numbers and we take them times what they told you to fund over here, it gives you what's called a monthly attachment point on the far right. So these are the dollars that you're setting aside for claims potential each month. So far, through 9 months, you've set aside $521,000 is what you've set aside. If you go to the bottom box and we work left to right, you can see that so far this year, there's been $617,000 in medical claims. There's been almost $70,000 in pharmacy claims for a total of $687. Okay? Of that $687 though, that over specific column, reinsurance so far, because you have that $35,000, or in some cases, I want to make sure not everybody gets approved every year at the $35,000. Remember back to last year, we had a couple of individuals who we know are going to spend more than $35,000. So they say you have 1 of 2 options. Either we can build it in to this premium right up here because that's risk, underwriting risk, or we can take those. Now, those people never know that or anything. That's not something that they're shared. They still have the same deductible of co-insurance. But we can either build it into that premium, or we can say, all right, that additional $35,000 above the $35,000 on that one individual, if it happens, the county will pay for it. If it doesn't happen, it's not built in here, you're not paying premium for it, it's just if it happens. Okay, those are called lasers, is what we have the person's laser. So, but we had $204,000 that the reinsurance has paid so far this year. They're anticipating paying probably about another 100 or so, 100. They thought max 150, the lower end probably about 90 to 100 of additional throughout this last 3 months and in your run-out period. The aggregating deductible, again, I'm going to come back to that. That's something that you have funded. That's over anybody that goes over the specific stop loss, which is the individual stop loss. The county's paying the first 50 collectively on that group. Last year, you had 2 people that weren't approved at the 35. The first one was at 70, the second one at 90. But if that person had a condition that if it started in some other treatments, it would move to 150. It has not moved to that 150. It just went to that 90. It was at that 90. So, and that's a lot of, so you can see that that second person has spent $55 additional $1,000 above and beyond their 35. So they've hit their 90,000. And now reinsurance is picking them up because their claims that they have right now weren't specific to that 150 number. So it's on something else that's going on. It's what's called a contingent laser. It's 90 based off their current, but if something else happened, it was moving to that 150. Well, that's something else that they specified did not happen and it was something else, so it didn't come into play. There was nothing paid under the prior specific contract from the previous year. Had very few dollars, $24 that was outside contract, which that was a little case management fee, that very, very few dollars there. So if we go from left to right, the 687 is the total. Reinsurance paid 204. So if we take that 204 off of the 687, and this number is not on there, but the total amount so far this year that you guys have paid is subtracting 687 minus that 204. And that is $483,000 in claims. 483, and if you look back up here, that's in comparison to your 521 so far in that top right-hand box. So you're not over, which is good. I mean, we're still almost $40,000 to the good through this year right now, which is always a positive. And always remember, you've built a nice reserve, and we made it through last year where we thought last year was going to be just the rock bottom year, and it didn't end up being that way. And you actually even built up a little bit more in your reserve last year. This year has again been a bad year, but you're still to the positive so far this year. Okay. Now, again, last year things went up a little bit in cost for you. What you're setting aside went up. So if we were to compare this 483 number to last year, last year it would have been about, you're running about the same as you did last year at this time. You still have the opportunity to have more money in your reserves than you did at the beginning of the year right now. Do you feel that way too? I mean, it's really close.
I know it would be close, yes.
Yeah. But it doesn't appear like if at the end of the year, if the rest of the year runs exactly like this year's running, or how the year's been running, you will not dip into those reserves, which is a positive.
On your the 90 to 150, I don't quite understand that. So instead of us paying the first 35, we pay the first 90. But then what is the 150?
The 150 was, okay, so they can look at this and they can say, okay, the current course of treatment we know is going to cost $90,000. Okay? But the next step on that treatment is which I can use specifics without in this scenario. They say, okay, this is what the course of treatment is, but the prognosis could be that they have to go and do something different based off of their current condition than what they're doing right now. And if they go and do that, a good example would be, let's say somebody's in remission of cancer, because this isn't this situation, is in remission of cancer, and it's been very positive, but all of a sudden, right before we get to renewal, we have, once something happens in their case notes that says, it may be back. Then they could say, based off of what they're doing right now, they're taking $60,000 or $90,000 worth of drugs just to keep them going. But it looks like they may have to move back to radiation. So we're going to say 90, and if they move and start doing radiation again, then it would move to the 150.
Okay.
But if they had a heart attack, that 150 doesn't come into play because they haven't specified what the 150, or they have specified what the 150 is for. And that's this scenario right here. It's stayed, even though this number spent over $90,000, this one was contingent on moving to a specific event, and that event has not happened. So it's staying at 190 and has not gone to the 150. I mean, I know that's, hopefully that explains it.
Yep, that's
So really, from a numbers standpoint, we're still, they're still very high. You've had, in self-funding, I always talk about It's 5-year cycle. You have 1 year so good you can't believe it, 1 year so bad you can't believe it, and 3 pretty average years. In those average years, you're still able to build to your reserve a little bit. Right now, we have had back-to-back pretty significant years, but they haven't, they're not, it doesn't appear like they're going to get into your reserves. Now, when it comes to funding in the future versus funding, because we're going to talk about the renewal here in just a second, this 901 number is going to be going up. And so that's where you as a commission need to say, okay, is this the time that we don't fund anymore, that we use some of that reserve that we built up for this time to, and I'll give you these, I haven't given you those yet. But this is it time to use some of those reserves in our funding, basically is what it is. The rest of this, I just want to point out a couple of things. If you look at the very next page on the back, here so far this is called your large claim report, and this is anybody who has hit at least 50% of their specific, their 35,000 or their 90 or whatever their specific, we call it the specific or their stop loss is. So you can see that you have 5 individuals on there that where it says dependent or it says 01 or 00. 00 is employee, 01 is spouse. Okay? And you can see the very first one had a specific limit of $90,000. And so far to date, they have spent $194,000. So they're over $104,000. And so far been reimbursed by the stop loss carrier $104,000. The next person was a $35,000, and they've spent $184,000 so far. 149 is overspec. So far we've gotten 148 back from the carrier. That means we're still waiting on a little bit more. And then you've got 3 more individuals that are on there. One is at the 35, or 2 at the 35, 1 at the 70, and you can see what they've spent as well. The overspec column here now, this report was ran on October 8th, up in the top left-hand corner. And you can see if you go back, you don't have to go back, but as of the last day of September, we'd only spent $204,000 overspec. And now in 8 days, we were at 254. That means that there was some large claims that came in that week time, and actually it was on that, the second person that's on there, that they came, those claims came in. Okay? Of those, I'll talk about renewal. There are two concerns that are in there, and they're the same 2 that we have this year. The one person who has spent the $184, that is the reinsurance carrier at this point, is not going to change them to off their $35,000. They're leaving them there at this point. I believe it's a hospice situation that's going on. And so they're, I think based off of what the prognosis and the course of treatment is, there's no reason to increase that. They don't think they're going to spend $35 for this year. Any questions on that? What those, on those, of course, if you want to go to executive session for that, we can talk about the individuals if in the exact what's going on in those kind of things. But that's again.
So we're saying that they probably will be laser beginning next year.
The 2 that are right now will be. The one will continually be because it's a prescription drug that will, as long as they're still a part of the plan, that prescription drug is not going to come down in price unless we have something federally done for that matter.
And that's the one that's 70.
Yes.
And we need to talk about that in executive session to where we see how long that's going to continue. That'd make a difference whether it's 1 year or 5 more
Whether we
years.
start dipping out of our reserve. Well, let me go back and see.
I would consider it.
motion that we go into executive session for 10 minutes,
Probably
15 minutes for non-elected personnel.
With confidentiality.
Yeah, for confidentiality of non-elected personnel.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, we go in executive session for 15 minutes for 15. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.